Good evening. Separated by Water, the podcast which is usually for Irish fans of English teams, but with an issue tonight which I think is just so big that we wanted to get true fans on, and we certainly have done that. It's a Nottingham Forest issue. Unless you've been on another planet, you will know what has happened. It probably interests me more because my club were at one stage involved. It's the big Forest issue. It's the big issue. It's the Ange issue. I think we have some for and against here. Well, my name's Colin Campbell. I'm a Spurs season ticket holder, so I have no real skin in this debate. But my co-host and colleague Paul is a Forest fan. Paul, over to you.
Good evening, guys. Yep. What do we do with Big Ange? Do we keep him? Do we let him go? Do we want to be the team that's has three managers in a month? I don't know. But anyway, we're kind of be joined by our regular Nottingham Forest contributor, Charlie Vaughan. How are you, Charlie? And where are you?
I'm grand. I'm stuck. I'm stuck at Manchester Airport. My flight is about 3 hours late, so I'm doing a podcast from Manchester Airport.
Very good.
My God, well done. Your commitment's unboundless. It's boundless. Dave,
Yeah.
Dave Berry, where are you? And how are you? And where are you?
I'm good, thank you. I've just got back from work. I'm in Taunton, Somerset at the moment.
Right. Okay. So before we start,
Okay.
I'm going to hand it over to Colin. We've had a few requests after your video at Real Betis, Dave, asking where's the accent from. There's people saying it sounds like a London. It sounds like a bit Devon. So can you fill that blank in for us?
Well, yeah, I was born in Taunton, but then I moved away to Portsmouth when I was about 20, and I stayed there for about 12 years, I think. And I worked up in London and all over the south, so I think my accent's a bit twanged from everywhere across the south.
Yeah, I get it. All right. Well, that's the question answer for everybody. Colin, don't take too much pleasure in this. I'm going to hand it over to you. I will say, I think Charlie is in the for camp for keeping a camp, and Dave is for the getting rid of a camp. And I think it's less than divided at the minute. I'll come in later on with what I feel. But anyway, over to you, buddy. You go ahead and you lead the way.
Okay, thanks for that. Well, then, first question I'll direct to Dave first of all. Okay, Dave, is this not an overreaction? I mean, Ange has hardly got his foot in the door, and you want him out. What's that about?
I don't think it's an overreaction. I looked at what he did at Tottenham last year. Yes, he won the Europa Cup, but I think you as a Tottenham fan would agree your season was terrible last year, and I think you won the cup by default. Really, it wasn't your best team. Ange has come in, and what I wanted to give Ange the benefit of the doubt is I saw Tottenham play in that semi-final away to Bodo Glimt, I think it was, away from there, and it looked like he had finally listened to people and he changed his tactics there away at Bodo, and he was a proper defensive unit there, defending for your lives, old school way, and he changed from his attack-minded way and played the occasion rather than Ange ball. So I thought that he might come into Forest, he might have learned something from that and tried to adapt them tactics here. But I've got no idea what he's doing. After, 6 games now, 13 goals conceded? I've got no idea what he's doing. And that defending at corners last night was one of the most dreadful things I have ever seen. Because I think it was Martin O'Neill was on TNT last night. Because I didn't actually make the game last night. I was stuck at home, and I think that Martin O'Neill said on there that they was the best team on set pieces in Europe. I think he said, and he put that point to Ange, and Ange said, "We don't worry about that." And look what's happened. 2 goals conceded from the set pieces. And that marking from them corners, I've never seen nothing like it. There is no point having Milenkovic in that team if he's not going to be able to defend properly, because that is what he's been in for, to defend, and we're not doing it.
Okay, I see your point, and you did mention Tottenham. There are 2 things probably. One was that I was aggravated by the attacking approach, but the high line, and I know we were found out by so many teams last season, but you've heard me go on about that. Dave, thanks for the moment. Charlie, that's pretty comprehensive there by Dave. Are you convinced, or do you still?
Am I convinced with Ange?
Well, no, convinced with what, Dave? Did Dave help you there to convince you, or do you still want Ange to stay in place?
Dave has never helped me in his life, but
I helped you get on that horse in Betis.
He picked up the accent while he was in prison, I'd imagine. Anyway, for being a part-time supporter. How do I feel? Well, I suppose talking about last night's game, I mean, I would be completely the opposite. I would be a firm let Ange have a go. I could quote back in history. I could look at the great Ferguson, the great frosty nose Ferguson. When Mark Robbins scored that goal, Ferguson was going to be sacked. And look what happened there. Like that was after a replay with us. You got to give the men a chance. You got to. I mean, the players don't become bad overnight. And maybe, I mean, I've seen Gibbs White's interviews, and he's saying we're going to do it. We're going to do it. Obviously, last night wasn't great to say the least. But look, I enjoyed last night's game. I did actually enjoy it, and I told my friends last night before the game at the table that everybody should put a few quid on Midtjylland at 6-1. Because I'd read up on them during the week, how they beat Cups 2-0 at away, and then they beat Cups 4-0 at home in the playoff. Then they go and beat what's his name from that we're playing Braga. Is it who we play next? The Stormgrass. They beat them 2-0. They beat them.
Yeah.
They did, but you helped me again, Dave. Good man. They beat Stormgrass 2-0 last week, and the reports in the papers were saying like that. They're from set plays, they're fantastic, and I mean I was watching last night. Billing ran the show there, but even so, look, I can't say Ange out. I can't. It wouldn't be in my nature because, as I said, I follow Nottingham Forest. I support Nottingham Forest, not the manager, not the owner, not the players. I'm Nottingham Forest. That is my whole thing, no matter who's there.
I'm going to try and tease an answer out of you, Charlie. Are you worried about the performance per se compared to last year when we apparently had a weaker team and we were playing the strategy we were with Nuno? Are you worried about what's going on at the minute? Are you worried about the results? Are you worried about to me, I have to agree with Dave. There's no rhyme or reason to what's going on. I can't work out what he's trying to achieve. Are you worried?
No. I as I say, say again.
That's a clear answer. No is a good
Yeah,
answer.
I'm not big. Look. We were in Seville last week. We were playing absolutely fantastic football, and we got finished up with a draw. Last night we got beaten 3-2. Fair enough. These things happen. People get too upset. You get too wrapped up in the emotions. Football is for our enjoyment. Our enjoyment. I look at Paul and I look at yourself, Colin, and even Dave. Like each one of you gets wound up because we get beaten. But if we went on another run and won 42 games in succession, some of you would still find a reason to criticize. I don't know, the manager, the players, the fans. It's what it is. You're getting away from home, getting away from work, having a beer, and just enjoy the whole thing. That fireworks last night before the game was fantastic.
I accept that. That's a wonderful, wonderful attitude, Charlie, and I would love to have it, and I'm infamous for finding fault and so on. I think probably what it was mentioned quickly, Dave, you mentioned it. Dave, you're reading last season at Tottenham, and you probably see his form now as a continuation with Forest of that, and maybe had Ange been an unknown, or had he managed in Saudi Arabia or God knows where and come in with no immediate history, he might get a bit more leeway. But I can understand, he's like, geez, look what happened last year. It's happening already, It will take anyone time, I think. Paul, where are you on this? Will you come on? Let's hear you.
Okay, well, before the game, whenever they released the team last night, I looked at the team and I straight away texted Colin and I said, "This is a winning team. He's got Igor, and so on."
Yeah.
I looked at every aspect of it and I thought, "This is a winning team. We can win this tonight." And I really want to do. First night back at the City Ground in 29 years or whatever it is, and I thought, right, this is good. This is it. I watched the show beforehand, a bit of the show beforehand. And I thought, right, this is good. And then I was sitting, just couldn't believe when that first goal went in. We were so open. Last year we defended so tightly, so professionally, and I just couldn't believe that we managed to just let that wide open at that side. Now Murillo, I'm not sure he should have been back on. I think he's injured. I think he was still injured, and why he kept them on. And I think there was poor. Charlie, I accept what you're saying. You know, it's all about football now, but he made bad decisions last night. He kept people on. His substitutions were late or not at all. I just worry. I worry that the dream season that we had, I couldn't wait for the summer to get over. I was wishing my life away to get this season up and running. Forest back in Europe, having a good run in the Prem, and it is just it's very Spursy. Excuse the term, Colin, but it's very Spursy. Dave, can you see? Do you think he'll get to after Newcastle? Do you think there's already talks? I see he was seen by Benitez at the Arsenal ground. He was being seen, like there's loads of rumours going about. Do you think he'll go before the weekend's out? Do you think he'll go before the Man United game, or do you think he'll go in the if he loses on Sunday? Do you think he will go?
I think if he loses big on Sunday, which I think we've got the potential to do, because if us fans don't know what he's trying to do, I don't think the players have got any clue what he's trying to do. But I just want to put like another spin on it to Colin, if I can. Last year, Tottenham, you finished 17th, I think. Was it 17th, 16th, something like that?
Yeah, it was 17th. Yeah.
There was 3 awful teams that was relegated with about 6-7 games to go, I'm going to guess, something like that. This year, Sunderland are flying, Leeds are doing well, and Burnley look as if they've got a bit of fight in them. So that's 3 teams that could potentially all stay up. So this year, the likes of Forest could get dragged into it. The likes of Wolves, your Villa, I think, are still down there and things like that. So 3 established Premiership teams could go down this year with them 3 staying up.
Yeah, we did a piece on that recently, and we agreed. I said if I was a gambling man, I would put money on the 3 promoted teams to stay up.
Yeah.
And the teams we thought were exposed because of that were Wolves, Brentford. We'd mentioned West Ham, and we kind of were thinking, well, Forest are, everyone expects them to get better. But you're right, the stats don't lie. Spurs were very poor last year and wide open. And the defeats at home particularly were hard to losing to Palace, losing, no disrespect, but we also lost to Leicester and Ipswich, who went down. And this was something that I found hard to fathom in one sense. But when I was at the match, I saw that, and I went on about the infamous Chelsea game where we lost 2 men, were 2-1, had an equaliser ruled out, and he had Eric Dyer in the centre half on the halfway line.
I remember.
I said, I'm marginally slower. You know what I mean? I'm marginal. And I was sitting in my seat, said, what? Go deep and hold it. But we ended up 4-1 down. We got a second goal. Now, that to me was when it all started. It unraveled very, very quickly after that. And, he hasn't even got the benefit here of a good period where he did with Spurs in the first season, first 10 games or so, we were doing okay. But after that fell apart. When you read into it, I can understand the sense. I can understand what you're saying, Charlie. What you're saying, I support this team through thick and thin, and you're one of the people who can enjoy a match. I've had plenty of practice at that, and I'm still no good at it. Okay. Right, fair enough. I never will be. But one question, guys, I feel I need the elephant in the room here, metaphorically, is that your owner, who so far has kind of walked on water, again, metaphorically, this was his appointment, wasn't it? So is this going to cause a fracture between the owner and the fans? Is this man so stubborn and he might retain Postecoglou because it was his decision? Or can he read the rooms? Can he look at the situation and make a decision for the what might be for the betterment of the club? Where do you see that? Charlie, if I could ask you, as the happiest of the 4 of us, do you see an issue here? Do you see where the owner might be saying, well, either I better do something here because it's not good, or I picked this guy, so I'm here.
Well, I personally don't care if he stays or goes. I'll still support Forest, but I don't think the owner will act or react very quickly. Now, you see, we're all talking about Ange now. When Ange was appointed, before he ever was appointed, the whole world of Forest fans were saying, no, no, not him, not him, not him. And then he got appointed, and people were saying, Jesus, no, not him, not him. Now, they began to hate him before he was appointed. Then they hated him with a venom since he came there. And the results haven't gone his way at the moment. So they're now hating him, singing Nuno's name last night. But look, we've got to give him a chance. Look, this bad patch didn't start when Ange came. Remember, if we were say 14th or 15th last year, going into the last 7 or 8 games, we would have been relegation fodder, and we've carried on through the summer and come out again. Ange has come in. The team has been rebuilt. You know, there's been new players bought. They haven't had a pre-season. We've got to give them time. I don't think. Look at Marinakis does react. And, you know, let's not forget where we were before Marinakis came in. You know, let's not forget that. You know, something, if we were back in the championship next year, should still be thankful to Marinakis to give us that moment of glory. Just quickly, I remember sitting in the Trenton when Bayern Munich came in the quarter final, and I hope somebody will correct me here, but I think Fran was with me, and we got snow on our bodies because it was so cold and snowing that night. But I'd like to put it out there. Does anybody else remember that? But you know, that was me and my son when he was about, I don't know, 13 years of age. And last night he stood beside me in A block, and no, he wasn't happy either, but that's his prerogative. But no, I hope Marinakis doesn't react. He's a businessman. As I said to Fran, he'll still get the money if we get relegated. But he said, no, if he's a businessman, he will get rid of him. I hope they give Ange a chance, because if they give him 6 months, new manager comes in, fair enough. You know, we still follow Forest.
Okay.
We still support them.
Okay, Charlie,
If you
so
go
you
next.
give him a chance. 6 months is a chance,
Yeah,
which takes us to what, just after Christmas, probably after whatever international break there is then. Okay. Paul, Dave's kind of saying 6 minutes.
Dave, same question to you. Do you know, basically the question Colin posed there, you go ahead, you give me your answer.
Well, I just think that, I can't see it changing. It didn't change at Tottenham. It hasn't changed at Forest in the 6 games. Normally, when a manager gets sacked, it's normally when a good run of games is coming up. And to be fair, he got sacked after the West Ham game, Nuno. Ange has come in. We've had a Michelin last night, Betis, Swansea, Sunderland, Burnley. All these games are winnable. And apart from the first half at Betis and maybe the first half at Swansea, we've been awful. And I cannot see things changing. And I just cannot get out my head that defending at set pieces last night from that corner. All our players are lined up in a zone just behind the 6-yard line, and they had 2 players that was in front of Matt Sells, and I was screaming at my TV, who's in there protecting Sells? I think it was one of them 2 players who scored the goal from the corner last night, because he had no protection. Anybody looking at that game last night would see you've just got to put the ball in the zone on a corner, and you'll have 2 or 3 men spare to head it in home. And that is as simple as it is. I cannot. Ange didn't change at Tottenham. I can't see him changing at Forest.
There's something, guys, that you might want to go and have a look at, and that is Forest away to Tottenham last season, the Forest goals, okay? Because you'll see something. Paul, you're getting your wish. Ange is out. Santa has come early. He's gone. Who do you want? Who's in the hot seat?
I'll come to that because I'm going to pose that question to the guys. Gary O'Neill's my answer. Go and get somebody with a structure that can come in and step in, and he's not in a job at the minute. I'll answer your other question first, Colin, in that you're saying that this is his appointment. Nuno was his appointment. He threw out a very popular manager by getting rid of Steve Cooper. He brought in Nuno, and when Nuno was under pressure the way this is, he backed him, and then very quickly realised this is not the right decision. So I don't think this man friends come into any sort of it's a business for him. This man is a very successful business, and he's not going to take any prisoners. And I'm afraid, I reckon, my personal belief, and I'll pose the question to the two guys. I believe if we get a spanking at Newcastle, and a spanking I mean 3-0 or more worse, he'll be gone in the international break. And I think he'll have somebody in mind. This team isn't sitting, going, grasping, looking at managers. They'll have a list of 10 managers that they'll be looking at all the time, progressively seeing that guy's running the job right. We need to make sure we've got a stockpile. He'll be away looking at managers in a way. He may already have spoke to somebody, as he did with Ange before he got rid of Nuno. So I do say, I'll repeat what you've said over and over again. I wish he'd sat down, sorted the problem out with Nuno, and we still had him there. And I think we'd be having a very different conversation now. But anyway, and my name is Gary O'Neill. That's who I would like to see coming in. I think we're not going to get, nobody else is going to come from the Palace job. Glasner's not going to come from the Palace job. Why would he? They're just not going to move into Forest at the minute. It's becoming a bit of a basket case, and they need to sort themselves out. But I'll pose the same question, starting with Dave. How long do you give him, and who do you want in the place?
I would have him out as soon as possible because I've not seen anything change really. Who would I want to replace him? I thought about this today when I was at work. Like, who is out there that's available that could come in? But I even think it's a case of somebody at the moment just coming in and steadying the ship, just to try and shore us up, get some points on the board, and basically just tighten our defence up like it was. And the only person I could think of, which that Gary O'Neill shout was a good shout, to be honest with you, actually I didn't even think about him. And the only one I could think of, who was a local lad, was Sean Dyche.
Yeah. I can see Sean Dyche coming in and Sean doing a gatekeeper for a while, but he's not going to progress. But I take your point, and he was mentioned in the radio earlier, although Gary Neal wasn't. Charlie, if you had, and I'm going to quote Amma, if you had your happy clappy hands taken off you, and you had to make an honest decision, and you had to say, right, we need to look at this, we need to get rid of this manager, and we need to get rid of him now. How long would you give him? Now, you're not allowed to do the happy clappy answer, as I'm at coach you. You have to give me an honest answer, and you have to give me a name other than Ange that you want to replace him.
Oh, well, first of all, can I just as going back to what's being said, first of all, I'd like to sympathise with Dave because he has no friends. He's ended up now talking to the television. But, we'll go back to the real world now. Who would I want? I really can't answer that because I don't mind. If he goes to somebody, I don't mind who comes in, really. I will support the club no matter who comes in. That's the straight answer.
Okay. I can hear Amma. I can hear him already. Happy clappy answer. Happy clappy answer. Anyway, guys, it's out of our hands. It's in Mr. Marinakis' hands. Colin, what do you see happening? As an outsider, what do you see happening?
Well, I want to comment something Paul you said, that I find interesting. One is that we've talked about Ange's performance at Tottenham, okay? As I recall, was sacked by Bournemouth, and then he was sacked by Wolves. Now, I wonder what trees he put up. He talks well on Sky Sports, yeah. Sean Dyche, sacked by Everton. Now, I know people get sacked. I am a little bit surprised. I thought you plural, would have set the bar higher in terms of an appointment. But who that would be, I'm not sure. Really, at the minute, maybe it's somebody. But I also take the point that, Dave, particularly, you think things are so bad that you really just need the ship steady here. You want to start ladling the water out of the ship before you even move on further, and I that's how you see it. I see what you mean. You've seen the performances. I saw mine last year. And when people were talking to me and Paul was winding me up about poor Ange and all this, I was saying, but I've sat through these things. I spent a few £100 to get over there and sit for 90 minutes. And this is hard. Wolves look like Barcelona, and Ipswich look like PSG. Something is wrong. A team of Tottenham standing, a team of Nottingham Forest standing need to have, particularly Forest are going where they want to go. And I think the owner, to be fair, wants to get there. And for that reason, I think that he will pull the trigger by the end of October, as it said the other night.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So
I agree.
I think he will find a way
of saying
that.
Yeah, we've discussed it now. Thanks, Dave, for coming on with us. Charlie, you're on the move. I hope your flight's not delayed, overly delayed.
Yeah. No, I'm going to the bathroom. I needed a pee after listening to Dave.
I need a stiff
on
drink.
that note, we shall end it. Dave, thank you very much. Yeah. Charlie, thank you very much. Colin, thank you very much.
You ready travel, Charlie?
This is recorded Friday evening. We're doing another episode shortly, a live episode, but this will be uploaded later on, and I'll send you a link, and you can let me know, let your friends know it's there. Thanks very much, guys. Take care of yourselves.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.